This album is just apocalyptic butt stuff. That's all you need to know. It's apocalyptic butt stuff. That's the end. We actually don't even have to listen to the album anymore. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Bees, and we're trying something different today. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that maybe I started out doing tier lists or countdowns or just other music kinds of commentary videos, but it's been reactions, right? Reactions to me means I don't have any context for it. I've never heard these songs before. I've never heard this album before, and maybe you have, right? I give you the opportunity to see your favorite artists, your favorite bands through new eyes. And, you know, maybe it's like showing it to a friend for the first time. That's how I like to picture it, right? But today we're doing something different. I've had this idea for a while, going back into albums that I've heard before, or maybe classic albums that I've heard before, my favorite albums that I've heard before, and going back and revisiting them and reviewing them. Maybe enough time's gone by to where I think of things a little bit differently. So that's kind of the goal today. And also, when I started reacting to music, I'm just leaving a lot of videos on the table that, you know, unfortunately I can't react to it for the first time because I've already heard it before. So fuck that. Today, we are reacting to, I'll be honest with you, one of my favorite albums of all time, one of the best albums of the 1990s, perhaps even one of the best metal albums ever made. Today, we are reviewing Ænima by Tool. Now, there's this phrase that you may have heard, and I think it's not limited to music, but you hear it a lot in music. The sophomore slump. Maybe a band comes out with a really, really good debut record. Oh my God, these guys are legendary. And then their second albums, everybody's like, oh, what happened? It's like how I feel with Foster the People, Torch's debut album, ridiculously good, so good. And then Supermodel, it was fine. Tool did not suffer from the sophomore slump. In fact, they got so much better, so much more quickly. I think a lot of their contemporaries did, at least. And that's not to say that Undertow, right? Tool's first album was bad. It's not a bad record at all. There's a lot to like on that album. And it's not even so different from Ænima, the album that we're going to be reacting to today. We're going to be reviewing today, but it's just leaps and bounds better. You know, they do so much with the lyrics and the overall themes with it, and I'm excited to get into that with you today. I know there's probably a lot that I could talk about this album right at the top. But we might talk about those themes and concepts as we continue through the album. Now, whether or not you're going to stick with me through these reviews or reactions, these videos will be uploaded to Patreon before they come out on YouTube unedited. So if you want to check any of those out, go ahead and check out my Patreon. You can get exactly that for just $1. If you want to be included in the credits at the end of this video, those are on some other tiers, right? But we will get your name up on these videos. Now, if you're like, Jerry Bees, I don't want to pay your stupid ass for anything. You don't have to. Come join the live stream. It's better when you join the live stream. It always is. Go ahead and check out the links down in the description for that so you don't have to miss out on anything. Also, a ton more shit that I put down in my description. God damn. Also, I never tell you guys to subscribe to the channel. Maybe subscribe. Maybe continue seeing my fugly face talking about music. That's always been an option. How many of you cash in on that? I don't know. Actually, I probably do know. It's probably in my analytics, but that's besides the point. And I do need the money. Money is cool. I don't think people understand how cool money is. All right, this is it. Like I said, I've had this idea of reviewing classic albums for a while, and I figured why not, right? You guys have always showed me some of your favorite music, whether it's Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey, Brat, Lord, whatever the album is. But here, you know, this is maybe it's a little bit of me right here, right? Something that I hold a little bit dear. Maybe I don't get as much out of it this time. Probably not, but we'll see what happens. Maybe you're a Tool fan watching this video on YouTube, and you go, well, maybe this guy doesn't like Ænima as much as me. Stick around to the end of the video. We'll figure that out together. But this is Ænima. This is Tool's second album. Usually, I feel like I should have come in here with some notes, some bullet points to talk about the album. But I think we're just going to talk about some of these points as we see them. This is a new format for me, so this might be a little bit ugly. But please do enjoy Tool Fan Listens to Ænima for the 10,000th time. Hopefully you get a kick out of it. Yeah, I guess, save for any other prelude, this is a masterpiece to some. and maybe just an album to everybody else. But I think everybody who's here watching this is going to get a kick out of this one, if not just for the sake that I've been pushing Tool on this channel, all of my viewers, for a while now. So I don't know. Here's what all the hype is about. This is Ænima by Tool, 1996, 15 songs, a little bit of a doozy here, hour and 17 minutes, even though a lot of those are kind of just the interludes. First track, Stinkfist. Hit it! Oh yeah, by the way, the greatest drummer ever to live is in this band. I forgot to mention that at the top. This is it. And so that was Stinkfist, the first song off of Ænima. One of my favorite Tool songs. I think it's everybody's favorite Tool song, right? This is one of the more accessible ones, right? They used to open the show up with this all the time. Now they usually close with it, at least in the 4 times that I've seen this band. But more than anything else, with this song in particular, when I was getting into this band, this was one of those, like, okay, their songwriting ability is spectacular. Maynard James Keenan, he's not the lead singer in Tool. He's the only singer in Tool. He's got a video explaining that quite thoroughly, actually. And he's the lead songwriter. So typically how the process goes, everybody in this band's a perfectionist, which is why everything takes so goddamn long. You have Adam on guitar, Justin on bass, Danny on the drums, and actually this is Justin's first album with the band. He replaced Paul D'Amour, right? That's the history we need. They basically work on the music, and then typically the last part is Maynard trying to figure out how he's going to sing over these more odd time signatures and puts his lyrics in. And it's from the lyric point of view, which is what Ænima got me into. You know, I think sonically, instrumentally, compositionally, I think Lateralis, the album after this, is better than this album, but songwriting wise, this is just the best they've ever done. And it's because of the interpretations. So if we look at this, something has changed, undeniable dilemma, boredom's not a burden anybody should bear, constant overstimulation numbs me, but I would not want you any other way. Not enough, I need more, nothing seems to satisfy, and I want to just need it to breathe, to feel, to know I'm alive. So to me, this song has always kind of dealt with overindulgence, right? Maybe being too individualistic, looking for that next hit of dopamine, next hit of drugs, or whatever it might be. Finger deep within the borderline, show me that you love me and that we belong together. Relax, turn around, and take my hand. Or this song is just about fisting. and it's because it can mean so much on the other end. Like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't, try to pacify all these negative emotions, blend and balance pain and comfort, right? Maybe just to feel something, so maybe you're putting yourselves in those positions to feel pain, just so you can feel anything at all. And maybe that manifests itself in, being elbow deep in somebody else. Or like other than that, though, I think there's a decent thread in this album, which may come apart while I'm analyzing this. I think this album does a really good job of just explaining shitty situations, being so that these are bad situations that you don't necessarily want to be in, or quite literally shitty situations. Now, you can interpret that for yourself. And please do let me know your thoughts on my thoughts. Goddamn, what an opener. Yeah. Most lyrically eloquent song about fisting. This and Wish by 9 Inch Nails, great songs about fisting. The duality of Maynard. Just with it's like I don't care if it's not good for me. I just need it to keep me pacified, or nothing seems to satisfy. You're always looking to chase that dragon. Which is cool because this song isn't necessarily about drugs. If anything, this song is really only about fisting. Which, like, looking at the album cover too, I've always thought that this had to play into that. They typically don't, like, Tool and album covers don't judge the book by its cover. This is like really nothing. It's just kind of to set a vibe, if anything, if nothing else. But with all the talk about, buttholes, I can't imagine that this wasn't part of that thought. That's just me. Like, people who watch car washes on YouTube, do people do that? But yeah, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to move on here. Coming up, this is one of my favorite Tool songs. I would say that this is in probably the top 10 for me. And if you watched my Tool tier list video that I made, where I ranked most of all the Tool songs, I think there were some valid exclusions off that list. I call this the most underrated Tool song. I love the way that Eulogy builds. I guess just as a quick little disclaimer, this song is probably about the death of L. Ron Hubbard, very successful author who invented a religion that takes advantage of poor actors trying to get some traction in LA. But nevertheless, I think it's one hell of a ride. It's a little bit longer of a song. It's 8.5 minutes, but I think it's definitely worth it. The way that this band composes their songs like it's a really a real journey. And I think that's very apparent in this song. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Eulogy. And also, there might be like another person in power right now that I think about a lot when I listen to this song. And maybe you feel the same way. I don't know. Absolutely love the way this one builds. The panning of the drums. Danny Carey hit me like a snare. Jones is not my favorite guitarist, but the riffs in this song are so good. switch up, dude.
You would die for me. Why then are you so calm down? Get on your fucking cross. We need the fucking space to nail the next fool murder.
What a fucking doozy. And honestly, one of the quickest 8.5-minute songs I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. And I think a lot of that has to do with how they compose these songs a lot of the time. I mean, it is a true progression. It's a grand composition in the sense where you have all these different movements. And I think they incorporate that in a lot of their songs. But this one has always been one of the best examples for me because each section is just so vivid and it all fits in together so well. And again, this is another one where I just absolutely adore the songwriting. Not because, I've never been the most religious person, right? I was even a militant atheist back when I was like 14. You know that video of like condescending 14-year-old atheist reads the Bible? That was me, right? I think I've chilled out a lot since then. It doesn't matter like that. But, I mean, there's, when I think you are maybe a little bit more secular or you are weary of people in power, how they use religion for power, maybe even extend that to cults, right? You can see through it and just go, no, that's bullshit. And that becomes a larger trend and thread over the course of Tool's career and with Maynard James Keenan's songwriting. But we'll get into that as we kind of come to it. I just love this line because he's being so cheeky the entire time. Not all martyrs see divinity, but at least you tried. You know what I mean? And there's also like this thing, there's this cyclical thing that happens. So I think a lot of people pointed to the fact that this is about L. Ron Hubbard, but I think you can extend this to anybody who has that kind of cult of personality around them. And right here, come down, get off your fucking cross. We need the fucking space to nail the next fool martyr. So if it's not one guy, there's going to be some dude right after him to take his place. Because he touches on this where you claimed all this time that you would die for me. People kind of want to be led to a certain degree. And I think he's calling out the people that really try to capitalize on that fact. And manipulate people for their own gain. But I think here, I've always interpreted this as, you've claimed all this time that you would die for me. People kind of want that. But if you're not giving me what I want, get off so we can put the next guy up there. And I just think, get off your fucking cross. Just this whole imagery is just so vivid and, kind of grim, if I'm being honest with you. Benny says, the intro always reminded me of Pink Floyd for some reason. I think in the sense that it's spacey, Pink Floyd also incorporating a lot of prog rock elements, right? And long, expansive compositions with a true intro to kind of bring you into it. And, they kind of build on their own things too. I've always kind of seen Tool as not necessarily the Pink Floyd style of prog rock. I've always felt it's Black Sabbath and Genesis had a kid. I think it looks like Tool, particularly because of the drummers in both of those bands, right? So you got Danny Carey and Tool, Phil Collins, probably Danny Carey, Phil Collins, Carter Beauford, and Trey Cool. That's my Mount Rushmore of drummers right there. Green Day, Dave Matthews Band, Genesis, Tool. I think I just have the best drummers on the planet. Neil Peart, I know, I get it. Neil Peart is fantastic. He's the reserve fifth spot, okay? Or no, bring in Neil. He's in my starting five. We'll get to, I think, other aspects of Danny's playing that shine a little bit more than in this song. But I don't know. I just think this song's so much goddamn fun. Yeah, like I said, this I think another thing that I really enjoy about this song is that it's not directed specifically at L. Ron Hubbard. You can kind of use this for anybody who, has kind of this cultish, feverish following behind them. And like I said, those people tend to be in power as well. So yeah, just play this whenever, I don't know, you're happy that somebody died. Don't be happy that anybody died. We don't wish that on anybody. The get off your cross line reads me as a jab at people who are big on the self-victimization when in reality they're just dicks. Yep. But like I said, I think he doesn't pull any punches in this album either. He kind of calls everybody out on their bullshit equally. We'll get to that where that comes out in other songs. But that's something I appreciate about Maynard. He just calls it like he sees it. Not necessarily that he means it either. He's kind of put this blanket term of like, it's all human experience, right? And at some point, being a human, you're going to feel pissed off and mad about everything, and everybody's, kind of the problem. And I think as you go through Tool's discography or even just Maynard's songwriting, you see that maturity kind of come into play later, especially with a few different topics. So what does Ænima mean? So there is kind of a twofold answer to that question. So it is a reference to Jungian psychology. So Carl Jung, Jung, whatever it is, kind of explaining how, he wrote about this idea of the shadow self, which we will be getting into in this album a little bit more keenly. But essentially that there's Ænima and animus, I believe. I could be completely wrong on this, but I think I'm right about the general idea. Ænima refers to the masculine within a feminine person, and animus refers to the feminine was inside of like a masculine person. So, within men, within women, both have a certain air of the other within inside of them, or at least traits that tend to manifest themselves in the other within inside of them. We will see how that manifests itself later on in a couple different scenarios. This album is just apocalyptic butt stuff. That's all you need to know. It's apocalyptic butt stuff. That's the end. We actually don't even have to listen to the album anymore. It's apocalyptic butt stuff. It's evolving into apocalyptic butt stuff because evolution plays a good deal into this album as well. I'm talking too much. Let's continue. H. Bit from Danny. Oh.
Calling all of the times I have died, will die. I don't mind.
Multiple vocal tracks.
I don't mind.
Nice tasty resolve there. And I say that, but I'll be honest with you folks, this is not one of my favorite Tool songs. It's still, I still can't be bothered to skip it whenever I'm like listening to this album. And I will say, I picked a good time to do this because I'm not really listening to Tool day in and day out like I had been for like several years. So I'm not like as keenly honed in all the time. Like, okay, I'm just putting on music. Let's just put up like some Tool on or something like that. I think compositionally, atmosphere, tone-wise, it fits into the rest of the album so hard. And it lives with me there, but as a standalone song, I just know I'm going to listen to it whenever I put this album on. I think thematically within the lyrics, it kind of just touches on this general theme of, you know, how am I to deal with the trauma that I've experienced? How do I get through that? How does it make me feel right now? And I think considering that this was earlier on, this is good because we do see that kind of resolved or see that worked out in different ways as the album goes on, I feel. But if anything else, like, I mean, Stinkfist, very high energy song. Eulogy, a lot going on there, but very high energy at certain points. This one brings it down a little bit. So in terms of pacing, I think it's placed on the album perfectly. And just with the way, again, from a tonal aspect, this song honestly might be like the Ænima song because this whole
What's coming through is a lie.
That's Ænima. That is the sound of Ænima right there. The reason I feel this is my favorite Tool album is because they are in that sweet spot in their career where they're getting experimental with their compositions, not to the point of lateralis, but still retain a lot of that anger they had from the debut. But this also has the distinction of being really fucking funny. There are, yes, this is the angriest Tool album. It's not exactly the saddest. It does get quite sad at certain points. But I do agree with you. This is probably the angriest one next to the debut. But they do get way more experimental from the debut. A lot of that anger, I think, is still there. But Maynard's songwriting isn't nearly as tack sharp in the debut as it is in this song for a lot of the songs. I mean, I think this is where a lot of Maynard's songwriting really shine. Not to say that it's not good on some of those other records, because they are, but the way that all of those different elements kind of come together on this record are really something. I just don't think H is the best example of it for me. Maybe it does a lot for you. I don't know. It's a preview specifically of what they do better in the next album. Yes. Yeah. There's a little bit of the Patient I'm getting in here. Patient is the second song off of the next album. And I think they kind of utilize those spaces, right? You know, these longer, slower compositions. Although, no, that's the case in this album too. I think a lot of people who think Tool is just pretentious or performative don't realize how much dumb, funny stuff they have going on. Well, that's why Tool hates their fans. That's why Maynard hates his fans. Because they're like, oh my God, you're prophetic. You are the greatest songwriter ever. And he's like, dude, we made a math song. Like, and this other song's about butt stuff. Like, what do you want? I kind of agree for the first half of the song, but the second half is genuinely incredible. But yeah, it's never been, I mean, I'm 7 years into listening to Tool. And this is just never one that I hold so close to me, other than I can expect to listen to it when I listen to the album, which I hold very, very close to me. So let's move on. I think we have one of Tool's famous interludes coming up. So Useful Idiot, it's one of Tool's interludes. They do these a lot in their albums. They usually don't mean jack fucking all, but this goes straight into 46 and 2. I'm going to preview 46 and 2 right here. 46 and 2 is probably the greatest song Tool's ever made. Other songs you might think are better, even on this album, right? Pushit, I think, is a crown jewel of their discography. Lateralis, the titular track on the album of the same name, definitely another one of those songs. Wings for Marie, parts 1 and 2. Yes, all of those are phenomenal songs. Great argument for being their best song. I think 46 and 2, it's already a little bit longer. It's 6 minutes, but I think it's accessible. You can see and fuck with like the epic vision that they had for it. I think it comes through the music so well. And as I was talking about just a second ago, this aspect of like Jungian philosophy, right? 46 and 2, if I cannot fuck it up, refers to this notion of human evolution and pushing past the shadow self, right? And trying to become a better person and transcend yourself through that. but also 46 and 2 specifically is referring to chromosome sets and what the next evolution of, or what the next step of human evolution would look like. And so it's all kind of this love letter to me. It is a love letter to change. And so in my opinion, 46 and 2 is Tool's most optimistic track because you want to evolve, you want to change despite all of the fucking shit that you've ever had to deal with in your life. That's what it's always meant to me. I had to listen to this song probably 1,000,000,002 times before I figured that out. Because otherwise, Lateralis is definitely their most optimistic track, but I really do think it's 46 and 2. And it's just a masterpiece. So... drums are mixed so well. That vocal delivery. My favorite part of this entire fucking song, right next to this one that's about to come up. Danny Carey needs a second to show you why he's the greatest drummer on the planet. Yeah, that's gonna be a banger.
It's good shit, pal.
This is one of the greatest songs ever made, in my opinion. Justin Chancellor, providing the bass here on this one. Justin Chancellor is my favorite bassist. I think really out of anybody in Tool, right? Maynard's one of my favorite songwriters. He's not my absolute favorite songwriter. I don't even know if I have an absolute favorite. Danny is one of my favorite drummers. He's one of the best. He's not my favorite drummer. I think Trey Cool's my favorite drummer, the drummer from Green Day. I don't know. He's just my favorite. Adam Jones, the guitarist, right? Love his riffs for this band. He's honestly, I'll be honest with you, Alex Jones is nowhere close to being one of my favorite guitarists. Justin Chancellor is my favorite bassist without a shadow of a doubt, and pun intended, considering the song's all about shadows. I mean, that opening riff. And the bass playing honestly only gets better as the albums go on, too. You could say, I know a lot of people didn't like Fear Inoculum. But one thing that could be said is that that is a Danny and Justin album. The bass and drums on that album are so goddamn good. But again, this is another one where we, kind of progress through the song. There are certain movements. Like I said, I feel as though this is really Tool's most optimistic track. I've been wallowing through my own confused and insecure delusion. So you're admitting that something is wrong with you, but you don't want to give up the fight. You're not submitting to those things. You want to feel the changes coming down. You want to know what you've been hiding, and sometimes you need to look in some places that you don't want to look in. You want to look at the shadow. You want to maybe even stew in those dark thoughts just to do the work to maybe see the light at the end of the tunnel. Is there another butt joke in there somewhere? Maybe there is. Through this dark and dank tunnel, but specifically like towards the end, dude. Just like I think we're talking about that anger that RVD was talking about, right? It comes through the lyrics quite well. But even as I said, this is optimistic. I think there is the sense of catharsis with the anger, and I think that manifests itself in the ending of this song. Just beat the shit out of your instrument. And that's just terribly, terribly good. This is one of my favorite vocal deliveries in any song. Like his voice gets so much higher there and a little bit more melodic in a song where he's otherwise just screaming and speaking like real softly. I've always felt that moment it was actually quite powerful. Danny said, "Let me just be an octopus real quick." Yeah. I love that the guitar keeps you grounded the entire time while the drumming just goes off. It's important to remember that Tool has a rhythm guitarist and a lead drummer. I think when you realize that, listening to this band becomes a lot easier. When you realize it's a lead drummer and everybody else is in the rhythm section. Only bases for me are Les Claypool and Yuzuru from Fishman's. Well, yeah, I mean that's basically just like saying I'd like to thank God, but also Jesus. Yeah. The opening riff is so iconic. I don't care. Argue with the wall. But do you see what I mean, though? I think this song does a great job at maybe providing some of those more spacey, psychedelic aspects that people really like about Tool. It has that aggression. It has that accessibility. And there's a lot to interpret in this. I think you can listen to this song a billion times, not know it's about Jungian philosophy, unless that's your bag. But that's not a lot of us. I think there's a lot here that people can relate to just in the fact that no, I do want to change, and I want to change for the better despite all the shit that's happened to me. And even if you don't love it, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Message to Harry Manback. This is an interlude. I don't know how much the interludes are going to stay in the video that I make for YouTube. Maybe they will. But this one's
fucking American Yankee. You're gonna die out of cancer, I promise. Deep pain.
I'll be honest with you. I've kept myself from even looking up what that's about. I've never wanted to know. All right, and so that goes into Hooker with a Penis. You've heard me talk about this song on the channel before. It's been a long time, but for any Taylor Swift fans out there, when we were reacting through Taylor Swift discography and we listened to Mean, right? Taylor writing the song about saying how this one music reviewer was just being flat out mean to Taylor. So Taylor did what she did best and put it in a song. And this is the Tool version of Mean. That's how I've always kind of interpreted Hooker with a Penis. I'm not you'll get it. You'll get it.
Now
more butt stuff. Because you got to have a breakdown. The drumming. All right, so as I grade this song on the Ænima by Tool rubric, we need to figure out if this belongs on the album. So, is it angry? Let's see. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you, buddy. Let's see. I sold out long before you'd ever even heard my name. Okay, yeah, certainly angry, but is it about butt stuff? Let's see. Well, I've got some advice for you, little buddy. Before you point the finger, you should know that I'm the man. I'm the man, you're the man, he's the man as well. So you can point that fucking finger up your ass. The song is about butt stuff. The song belongs on the record, ladies and gentlemen.
It's good shit, pal.
Faux shiz.
Yep. So obviously here, Hooker with a Penis kind of referring to the fact that, you know, this fan, right, he was OGT back from 92, the first EP. Being very upset that now Tool was mainstream, and so Maynard might as well just be a hooker with a penis. He sold himself out. He sold his soul to make a record. But then Maynard says, you know, I sold my soul even before you heard my name, and even before that, you had already bought a record. So shut the fuck up. You can shut the fuck up with your nipple rings, your new tattoos. But he's being kind of nice to him because he's got a dope Beastie tee. I've seen some people on the Tool subreddit dress up like this for Halloween. So you got to be in Vans, 501s, a Beastie Boys t-shirt, nipple rings, and new tattoos. Oh, and you got to be taking sips of Coke, right? That's a vibe. Everybody knows this person. Everybody's met this person before. I came into the Tool stream with this guy talking about butts. Hey, you know what's up. Yeah, I mean, this song's just like so fun too. I think people have this opinion, and I might even agree, right, that this is like the most fun Tool album. And when you get songs like this, it's balls to the wall. They didn't need that breakdown there, but it's a Tool song, so they're going to have a breakdown. They're going to break it up a little bit. Definitely the most high energy we'll get for a while. This is the part of the album that's not the best. We do catch a little bit of a break here with this interlude. But before we get into like the real sad shit, let's do my favorite of any of Tool's interludes. We have intermission. And we'll do this right into Jimmy. This is the best song on the record. I love this song. All right, so we got to Jimmy here, and I do feel the need to pause it because Jimmy talks about one of the more serious threads in Maynard's own personal life. I can't divulge every single aspect to what this song and what that thing that happens in Maynard's life kind of builds up to in the band's discography, but really this is referring to Jimmy, James. Maynard was born as James Keenan, Jimmy. This is referring to his experience as a child. And this song more or less has to deal with the fact that his mother suffered an aneurysm when he was a child. He was about 11 years old. where she was basically left disabled, paralyzed for the most part, and really unable to take care of Maynard. And so, I mean, imagine, everything you knew about your mother basically ceasing to exist, even though she's alive, and then having to deal with that as a child. So this one is not happy. It's actually coming from Hooker with the Penis and Intermission. This is really an about face. Definitely one of Tool's saddest. We'll see what you think about it. So that was Jimmy, and we have Benny here in the chat that says, this might be my least favorite on the album, but it's fucking peak, so I don't know. And I'd have to agree with you. This, I would say maybe my least favorite would be H, but it still remains so consistent with, I think, the rest of the other songs and with the tones that we were talking about. This one edges it out for me, mainly on the songwriting, because of that reference to this time in his life. And this isn't the only time he talks about this. It's not like he's talking about the same scenario. So here, I mean, this song is just so fucking sad because here's this kid he's an only child. He's alone, really, in kind of dealing with, what is essentially like a type of passing for his mother. He's looking at his mother, as we all did when we were children, as, a guiding light, as a form of comfort. And all that's taken away from you for the most part. And, it's not all doom and gloom. I always took this last stanza as, he's kind of, adult Maynard is reaching out to younger Maynard, just going like, maybe soon we can move past this, but right now we got to, we're still dealing with this. We still don't know what the future will hold and whether or not we can look back on these memories as something to grow from, or if it's going to keep us back, just like we were emotionally stunted at this point. That's how I've always took this. Obviously, in other songs, The Patient, Judith, Wings for Marie, parts 1 and 2, all of that. Every single one of those songs is kind of like the next step in not only how he feels about this situation, but also his relationship with his mother. Mommy issues do play into this album as well. That is kind of another thread. It's not called out here in the song, but what we know, This is a mommy issue song, and we kind of get another one later. I'll let you guys in on that once we get to it. But really, this is like the first peek, the first episode into what is really an epic across a lot of albums and songs. As Maynard uses music, like a lot of other artists do, to get past the less than savory aspects of their life. For that, I like this song and like what it means to the overarching theme. But at the same time, this is an album. How does it fit on the album? Compositionally, instrumentally, tonally, fits right in. It fits right in. Definitely not a banger, but a vibe. Jerry liked it because it mentioned Ohio lands. Well, Maynard's from Ohio. You know, he didn't stay here very long, but he's definitely from here. You know, there's this phrase that applies to one person. It's just a kid from Akron. Just a kid from Akron. And they came from very humble beginnings and are now known worldwide. A lot of people think that's about LeBron James, when in actuality, it's about Maynard James Keenan. So there you go. Shout out Akron General. All right. Do we have any German speakers in the house? Does anybody speak German here by a show of hands? Anyway, I don't necessarily want to like give this away if nobody here speaks German. But this is Die Eier von Satan. So I think this is really the only time that they go like industrial. I can't really think of another example where they go as industrial as they do in this song. Which makes sense. They're speaking in German, so.
Die Eier von Satan, türkisches Haschisch, ein halbes Pfund Butter, ein Teelöffel Vanillezucker.
Die Zauberwörter Simsalabim-Bamba, Salado, Saladim. Und keine Eier!
Bei 200 Gramm und keine Eier.
So you might be thinking, okay, there's some people cheering. He's speaking very authoritative in German, especially like...
Und keine Eier!
You know, American audiences might go, I don't know about this one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a cookie recipe. This is a cookie recipe. The only industrial song in Tool's discography. And they kind of give you a Nazi jump scare. But in actuality, it is just a cookie recipe. That's all this song is. Yeah. Apocalyptic butt stuff with cookies. Is I think is what you can kind of determine what this album is. Is it even a good recipe though? I've never made it. Ooh, that's some content. That made my teeth feel like scraping up a block of ice. Well, if that song was uncomfortable to listen to, maybe the themes of this one might be. But this is actually, in my opinion, this is another one of those greatest songs that Tool ever made. This is Pushit. This song, it's about domestic violence. And they don't really pull any punches with this one. I guess much like maybe the character in the song. To me, this one, I think instrumentally, I think at face value, you could even agree with me if you've never heard the song before. Like, yes, that was incredible. But it sounds so beautiful. And I think this is really just such a beautiful song. And it's about such an unfortunate circumstance. And it's that duality that I really, really appreciate. Much like, you know, in other albums that we've reacted to, I think Ethel Cain does a phenomenal job at that, particularly in Preacher's Daughter, where it's this beauty, because everything sounds so goddamn pretty and so good. Even when it gets scary, you know, there is this gross sense of beauty behind it. And I think that they just toe this line so goddamn well. But you'll be the judge of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Push It. it's crazy how low they bring you, because you know they're gonna bring you back, and it's that tension of how are they going to bring you back up. And it, I mean, it's I can't listen to this song and not just like feel so utterly sad the entire time. And I actually I think this is like the worst part. You know, there's a lot of space in between the lines, and I've always kind of interpreted that as showing the the loneliness, the seclusion, the isolation you have when you're in this kind of situation. I mean, we already go on to talk about how you minimize my movement anyway. So I think that's, you know, you're just kind of constricted to this box. And the lyrics are one thing to put you in that kind of headspace, but I think the music just comes out on top, especially as we get to the end. And it's seemingly, though, you know, it's not going to be a quick exit for this person. It's going to have to end the ugly way, you know, through, you know, force meets force, I suppose. There's a couple phenomenal crescendos in this song, two of them like right next to each other. This one, Maynard's voice and how they bring everything else back. And then, of course, which is really the whole point of the song. There's no love in They bring the instruments back. There's no love in fear. And I think they do a pretty good job at, you know, demonstrating the fear here. I've returned with Pizza. This is my favorite Tool song, not called Lateralis. It is a masterpiece. This song is a masterpiece. And you want to know what? You thought that there's be no way we can talk about butt stuff in the song about domestic violence, and that's exactly where you're wrong. Listen to this. Push it on me. Put shit on me? Pushit. The name of the song. It's not just push it put together. It's like there's no way they can slide more butt stuff into this song. They do. Now, I'm staring down the hole again, which works both ways. It works so well with like the song in general, but then you think about all the other butt stuff we've talked about, and they managed to put butt stuff in the domestic violence song. Does that invalidate it? Is that just so completely unserious? I don't know, because I think they handled the rest of it with so much grace. My friend genuinely misread the title as pushit on first listen. There are, I don't know that. I didn't know that. So we have Blair here ask me what I mean. There are a lot of cases of domestic violence with men forcing their wives into anal sex. I didn't know that was a thing. Literally did not like if that's like a common thing, then that's a common thing. I just don't know. Breaking news: Ohio man talks about butt stuff for 2 hours. More at 11. Yeah, exactly. That's even a better case for it. Obviously, I think it's mentioned with a little bit more levity outside of this, but they're bringing it into a much more serious context here. I'll put it to you this way. They handle it better than Korn trying to do like the same thing, which is like making beauty, creating art out of, very unsavory types of situations that people are in, very, very dark kinds of scenarios. We saw them try and fall a few times when we were listening to Follow the Leader. Tool can be argued that they're, contemporaries of Korn, and I think Tool just completely knocks it out of the park. So we got another interlude, and we're going to go into Ænima. So earlier on, I had kind of talked about how Ænima refers to, it's one or the other. It's either the masculine with inside the feminine or the feminine with inside the masculine. With the song Ænima, we will get into the masculine within the feminine and the mommy issues that we were talking about. I'll leave it at that. But before we get to that, let's do Cesaro Sumability. I don't know. Or maybe listen to this like twice. I think it's a baby. Oh, dude, the interludes on Lateralis are like great. There's like slow-mo of Maynard's cats meowing. Like I said, Maynard does not pull punches. He calls out everybody in this song.
Followed by millions of dumbfounded dipshits, and some say the end is near. Some say we'll see Armageddon soon. Certainly hope we will. I sure could use a bit. Mom's coming round to put it back the way it ought to be. All these gun-toting hip gangster wannabes. Yeah, fuck that crew. I'm praying for rain. I'm praying for tidal wave. I wanna see the ground give way. I wanna watch it all go down. Mom, please flush it. Time to bring it down, but nothing that it changed, my friend. I wanna see it come down, bring it down, suck it down, flush it down.
It's all so much. I've listened to this song about 1 billion times, but this is why I kind of wanted to do this, right? It puts me in a different position to analyze this in a different way. You know, it's not a very casual thing that I'm doing here. You know, I wouldn't necessarily stop and talk about the meanings to myself if I'm just listening to this for the first time. And I think Benny puts it here pretty well, right? He's comparing flooding LA to an enema, thus insinuating that LA is the butthole of the world. Truly profound butt stuff. Yeah, this is kind of like the beginning and the end of all butt stuff is this song. Now, I had mentioned the mommy issues. Not exactly the mommy issues that we will know about as Tool's discography continues in relation to, you know, Maynard and his mom, but more so this reference to, because mom's going to fix it all soon. Mom's coming around to put it back the way it ought to be. Insinuating that this is going to be Mother Nature, right? Mother Nature, please take care of LA. Just get rid of it for us. Create Arizona Bay. You know, California does rest on the San Andreas Fault, so there's a lot of earthquakes. That's kind of what spurs a lot of the earthquakes. So just put it all in the fucking ocean is what Maynard's saying. He's tired of this fake ass town and these fake ass people. Should have just stayed in Ohio, Maynard. I know it was pretty hard for you, but you should have just stayed in Ohio. So again, not necessarily, but this is referring to that, you know, destructive masculine energy that might exist within a woman. So with Mother Nature, please use it to destroy humanity. Like, that's actually the best possible thing you can do. You know, if everybody sees like Mother Nature is this like idyllic, like, oh, look at the fawns and, you know, look at the rabbits. This is Bambi. This is all so nice. It's Mother Nature's so sweet and cutesy. You know, no, Mother Nature will fuck you up. Try to fuck with her and you'll find out, which is kind of what the idea is here. And then obviously, you know, just flush it out like an enema, you know, butt stuff, mommy issues. Maynard really wants to swim. Yeah, not pulling any punches. They haven't pulled punches at all. This is one of those songs, though, that people can go like, okay, they are like utterly so pretentious. And honestly, I might even say that, they're always usually a little pretentious. But when you hear songs like this, right, you know, just like calling out everybody but themselves, maybe Maynard should get off his cross, just like L. Ron Hubbard did. You know, and I think there's some self-awareness here, you know, especially with just don't call me pessimist. Try to read between the lines. You know, he's inviting people to see what he's seeing. It's not all just like, hey, everybody's stupid as fuck. I'm the only one who's smart. He goes, no. Here's an opportunity. Maybe you see this in a different way. But this is I think, one of the shining examples of Tool's pretentiousness. What's the conjugation for pretentious? That'd be it, right? That's it. We are just about done with this. We got ions and leading into Third Eye. This is where let's see, right? I think this is really the part of the album that I would see it any other way from how I usually interact with this album. I'm not the biggest fan of the ending to this album. I think it should end at Ænima. That's just me. You know, there's other like great albums that I think that we could review here. One of them being The Stranger by Billy Joel. It's a damn near perfect record. I have 2 notes on it though, and they have to do explicitly with song placement and the inclusion of one song that I don't even think should be on the album. I know a lot of diehard Tool fans love Third Eye. It's a 14-minute song. I've never gotten around to that one the same way I have through the majority of it. Even songs like H and Jimmy that I might say they're not my favorite Tool songs, but you know what? They work so well on this album, and that was even true today, right? Say beyond that, Message to Harry Manback, I always just kind of forget about it. You know, and definitely adds to the comedy side of what they're doing. And I think even in the best dramas that you'll ever watch or read. You do have to have that comedic relief. And I think there's enough within Ænima, enough comedic relief there in betwixt all the seriousness to where I think that balance is so, so good. And I say all that just because I've never had the kindest things to say about Third Eye. Ions, I mean, we're going to listen to it. We've listened to everything else so far. But just Ions being 4-minute interlude, as diehard of a Tool fan as I am, I've always figured the last 2 tracks on this album to be 10 minutes of filler. That's really what it is. Not to say that there's not great parts of Third Eye. There are great parts of Third Eye. Maybe you'll get what I'm saying. 17 minutes to close out is too much. Not even necessarily, because to close out Lateralis, you have the Holy Trinity, which is 19 minutes. No, even more than that. Close to 20 minutes. No, like 25 minutes to end out the album. Disposition, Reflection, Triad. And with this 2.5-minute intermission right here, this is gold right here. This is how you end a fucking album. And it's all kind of part of one composition. These 3 tracks, and then, the ending interlude. I've never felt that this album ends nearly as strongly as just about any other Tool album. Disgustipated's worse, actually. So Disgustipateded off of Undertow is actually worse. I don't even have to think about that one. But this is it. Maybe I see the light. I don't know. But here, we'll do Ions in the Third Eye. Benny prefers Third Eye. Benny says Third Eye is what makes Benny prefer Ænima over Lateralis. Interesting. I've only listened to Third Eye in like the song, not while listening to the album, maybe twice. Any other time I've listened to this album, as soon as Ion comes on, like I'll start making food or something, or do something a little bit more engaging, and while still playing this. I think we're done with the butt stuff, though. I think we've gone through all the butt stuff this album has to offer. Ions could be a lot shorter. Okay, like Third Eye is good. It's just too goddamn long. Like, give me like Iron Maiden Rime of the Ancient Mariner instead. That was crazy. Here it is, Third Eye. This, I'll just say this at the top. This begins with a segment from a stand-up bit that Bill Hicks did. The late Bill Hicks.
I think drugs have done some good things for us. I really do. And if you don't believe drugs have done good things for us, do me a favor. Go home tonight, take all your albums, all your tapes, and all your CDs and burn them. Because you know what?
You do have a lot of great drumming from Danny. I love this. I love whatever they do with the vocals here. This is great. Imagine this whole song as a drug trip is what really makes it work for me. I get that, but to me, like, this is a bad trip. And was wrong. The song is also very industrial. There are a few industrial tracks on this album. How they just let Justin's bass bleed out there. Love that.
Shrouding all the ground around buttons. Singing one familiar song.
Nothing else, the song is good for this part. Like that's kick ass. Here's the best part of the song. Not least of which is because it's ending, but because it's the best part of the song. And one of the best parts of the album. That almost made it all worth it for me. Every time. So again, with pretty much every single song on this album, it is all produced so consistently, even as some songs are maybe more serious than others in terms of, lyrical content. All of it's so consistent. None of it feels like it belongs on any other album or belongs to any other artist. This is so absolutely them and this album. It can't be anything else. And Third Eye plays into that. And, I used to think that the song about cookies was like the only industrial one, but there are like industrial elements in some of these songs, especially in the latter half of the album. And that's especially true here. This nod to Bill Hicks in the beginning, kind of sets us up for what we're about to experience, which is just like a trip, right? And within the lyrics, it's so good to see you. I've missed you so much. I've always kind of took that as calling back to Jimmy, right? Where he's talking to this younger part of himself, but he's running away from him, right? There's this idea of enlightenment and, achieving enlightenment through meditation, or, some people feel as though they're enlightened by drugs. And maybe this is like one of those things here. It's like he's running away because he's not really achieving true enlightenment. And even through enlightenment, I don't feel like you should be prying open your third eye. And I think this kind of goes back to all the change that he's inviting with 46 and 2, right? Like, I don't care if it takes a lot. I want to change, but it's maybe a little bit easier said than done, chasing a trail of smoke and reason. You can chase a trail of smoke, but, you can't see that much. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire, but sometimes finding the fire is a little bit harder to do than just say, right? It's a little bit easier said than done. So that's how I've always interpreted it thematically. Instrumentally, compositionally, I've always just felt that this was so bloated. And I really tried to get a little bit more out of it this time. I mean, this part will always slap. Just say the same thing over and over again and have Danny hit the note. Just have him hit the drums once every bar. And I'm happy. I think with all of the lyrical shit that I'm trying to connect with, it does wrap things up pretty well, especially since, I talk about all these shitty situations. If it's not about butt stuff, it's about shitty situations. And I think with that and those callbacks to Jimmy and 46 and 2, it ends with there's still work to be done. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. And I think that ties things up thematically. I just don't think they stuck the landing on this as much as like all the other songs. Aenema, Pushit, even Jimmy, right? Hooker with a Penis, 46 and 2. Eulogy, for God's sake, still a fucking masterpiece. And I think you can hear me as a person who's speaking with honesty, right? Because this is still one of my favorite albums. This is still one of my favorite bands. I'm allowed to have issues. I'm sure that if your favorite album isn't Ænima and your favorite band isn't Tool, then whatever favorite album you have and whatever favorite artist you have, there's some songs that you talk shit on, right? And just unfortunately, Third Eye's always been one of those for me. And we all know what Third Eye he's talking about. Yeah, who knows? The Third Eye might just be his butthole, for all we care. Am I going to get flamed for saying that I really enjoyed that? I'm in the minority. When I made that Tool tier list video, a lot of people did not like the fact that I did not like Third Eye. It goes back to some of the complaints I have about H and Jimmy, to where I think a lot of these other songs, even Intermission, sticks out better as a song than Third Eye, just as like a regular ass song. Right? Arguably the only part of the album where the tone shifts, but it's an intermission. It's not supposed to fit in. It's an intermission. So so they get the pass there from me. But even as H, Jimmy, Third Eye may not stick the landing as much as maybe some of the other songs have, as just being individual songs. This is an album. Tool is an album band, right? They are so deadlocked on this idea of making sure they put something out that is consistent and all-encompassing within itself. I think somebody said that Third Eye insists upon itself, the same way that Peter Griffin thinks that The Godfather insists upon itself. Well, what does that mean? And I think, you could play into maybe the pretentiousness with just all the symbolism that he's trying to make, like, digging through the sand, I'm trying to reassemble these pieces. I think you can take that and make some threads into some of the other things that we've talked about, especially when it comes to change. I think Lateralis is a little bit more, the album after this, Lateralis is a little bit more fine-tuned on the idea of change and maturity through each of its songs than Ænima is, but it's definitely a part of, I think, Tool's themes across their discography, and Maynard in general, between all the other things that he does. But it's hard to say what Ænima means, because people have been coming into the chat asking, like, okay, well, what does this actually mean? Or what is this album about, really? And it's there's no real overarching narrative. I could make the case that things in Third Eye connect back to some of the themes that we had talked about before, but I think apocalyptic butt stuff, namely just because, like, in the song, with the Ænima, with all that, I think that kind of should have been the last song, because I think that even ties up some things. Here's Maynard talking about, this guy that he doesn't like because he assumes that they sold out. Well, you know what? Fuck you. You don't know me. I'm going through changes. I've had this torment. This is my art that I'm trying to get through here. So you can go fuck yourself, and maybe do it up the butt. Maybe do it up the butt. But I think, like I said a little bit earlier, with anything, I think even the best dramas have a perfect balance of comedic relief. I'm actually watching Breaking Bad for the first time, and it's actually pretty good. I like it a lot. That's a very good show. And the serious moments, the drama hits so well, and then the comedic relief is just hysterical. So that's just an aspect to where it works well. And not to say that Breaking Bad and Ænima are exactly the same thing, but just when good shit works, it tends to do it in a certain way. And that's what Ænima is for me. Life's too short to not dabble in a little bit of pegging. Maynard, probably. Yeah, I still absolutely adore this album, and thank you everybody for being here and for watching this video. You may be a fan of my, pop music reactions and you tuned into this, or maybe you are a Tool fan, maybe you got some out of this. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. So that was my review of Ænima. Like I said, please let me know your thoughts on my thoughts. This is a different thing that I've thought about doing for a while. Don't worry, we will still be reacting to new albums that I've never heard, but I thought that this would be a good way to invite more conversation, especially with albums that I'm a little bit more familiar with, and maybe talk about some things that I didn't catch maybe on my first listen. If this video gets popular, I hope to do these with some other classic albums, like Rumors by Fleetwood Mac is on the table now. The entirety of Pink Floyd is on the table. Lady Gaga, that like Fame, and like, oh my God. So who knows what can happen. If we want more Tool, maybe I give you more Tool. Who knows? If you liked this video, go ahead and like it and subscribe. It's the easiest way to support the channel. But if you want to support the channel just a little bit more and get early access videos unedited before they come out on YouTube, go ahead and check out my Patreon. Link in the description. You can get exactly that for just $1. If you want to join the conversation as it's happening here on stream, go ahead and check out those links as well, and pay attention to my post tab here on YouTube, or for free on Patreon. That's where I'm telling you when I'm going live and what exactly I'm going to do. Click all the other links in my description. You will not die if you do so. You might die like right after, but it won't be because you clicked on those links, right? I hope you don't. I hope that you continue to live a long and fruitful life. But shit happens. But with all that said, I've been Jerry Bees. You've been awesome. Take it easy.
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog. Breaking.